Request your position. Come in, Lancaster.
You seem like a nice girl. I can't give you my position. Instruments gone, crew gone too. All except Bob here, my Sparks. He's dead.
Switch it off, Mark. Mark, switch it off.
We're going to take a look at two Michael Powell films.
Yes.
He's a legendary British director.
So now he has to argue with heaven to stay alive.
The plane's going down. He's going to die. Hi, and welcome to Brit Flix. I'm Paul.
I'm Kelly.
And this is Two Buck Chuck, who
Right here.
helps us enjoy the movies just a little bit more.
Sometimes a lot more. This is a good one.
This week we have actually two great movies. We've never done two films before on Brit Flix.
That's right.
And we have two movies, A Matter of Life and Death from 1946 and Peeping Tom from 1960, both directed by Michael Powell, who had an illustrious career.
Yeah.
Ended with this 1960 film, Peeping Tom. It was almost literally ended with that film.
Yeah.
He did movies after that, but he left England almost in disgrace with the release of this film.
It's kind of scary too, because that film would be nothing today. I mean, it certainly wouldn't create the ripples that it did in those days.
Very tame.
The first one is, in the United States, it was called Stairway to Heaven, right?
That's right.
Because after World War II, they didn't want to put the word death in the title. Well, one of my favorite actors, David Niven, who I always loved, I thought he was great.
Terrific
and
actor.
Kim Hunter.
She's Stella in Streetcar.
And it's an interesting film because it's based on a true story. David Niven plays a pilot in a plane, and all the crew is bailed out, and he talks with Kim Hunter, who is at a radio station on land.
Are you wounded? Are you bailing out?
What's your name?
June.
Yes, Jude, I'm bailing out. I'm bailing out, but there's a catch. I got no parachute.
And they fall in love in that brief time that they have to talk. And Niven says, you know, he falls in love with her because he knows he's going to die, because he's going to jump out of the plane with no parachute, which he does. And he wakes up on the beach in the water, and he gets up and he sees Kim Hunter bicycling back to her home, and he runs into her and they fall in love.
How did you get here? I'm glad you're safe. What did you do? What happened?
Don't know. I just don't know.
And in heaven, they're going, well, you know, there's a mistake. He's supposed to die, but they didn't. The guy screwed up. The liaison guy didn't.
Conductor 71.
It could have happened to anybody.
How did it happen?
Everything was calculated except for this accursed fog. The pilot jumped, he got lost in the fog. I missed him.
So now he has to argue with heaven to stay alive because in the 12 hours that he was given, or that he had, he fell in love with Kim Hunter's character.
Right.
And they say, no, that's not true. It's not Bart. But he said, yeah, it's not my fault. You know, this is my life. You gave me 12 hours.
Mistake.
You made a mistake. It's not my fault. But it's an interesting movie because now he has to defend himself, and he has this big trial up in heaven.
Members of the jury, do not allow yourselves to be influenced by anything but the facts and by your conscience.
And he has an American prosecutor played by Raymond Massey.
Who's dressed in Revolutionary War gear.
That's
he's
right.
a guy from.
And he's bitter against the British.
He claimed, in fact, that in these 20 hours, a young lady of good American stock had fallen in love with him.
I thought one of the great moments of the movie is when he said, when they said, well, you can have a new jury. He said, well, give me all Americans, and then they repopulate the jury with Americans, and there's a Russian accent, there's a
Chinese guy,
and you realize that's America, you know, that's that melting pot.
When he's on Earth, he meets a doctor. Kim Hunter has a friend that's a doctor,
Yes.
and the doctor analyzes him.
Did you ever have a rather nasty bang on the head?
I don't think so.
Sure.
The usual one, dropped as a baby.
And he tells him that this guy is coming down for heaven, and somehow the doctor believes him. I don't know why.
It's interesting, because it's Dr. Frank. As I watched it a few times, I was trying to figure out, is he just, as a doctor, just kind of, you know,
pacifying him, going along with him. So he has to get an operation, and the doctor on the way to the operation is killed.
Yep.
He ends up in heaven. So he's the one that ends up defending
him.
David Niven's character to Raymond Massey as the prosecutor.
Right.
And the interesting thing is, to me, who is the judge?
The brain surgeon.
The brain surgeon. So obviously it's taken place in his mind.
Yeah.
Because he sees obviously he saw the doctor before he went under.
Did this really happen or didn't it? You know, but it is based on a true story, like you said, where they said it was
a guy did jump out of the plane and they found him on the beach, a pilot or an airman of some sort of British airman, and he lived.
Now, movie-wise, for me, what grabbed me in this movie was the first scene. Was the cockpit.
When they fall in love over the radio.
When I saw it, because this movie was recommended by a good friend of mine, Al Taylor, we had asked for suggestions for movies, and my friend Al said, well, my favorite movie of all time is A Matter of Life and Death, and I had never seen it, and you had never seen it, so
no, I had not.
We
was not familiar with it.
Thank you, Al. I appreciate it, because I thought it was terrific.
But I thought that the trial in heaven, and it was interesting how he did heaven, because he shows this massive sort of circular thing, and then they pull back, and what it is, it's a galaxy. But I thought the trial was so interesting because it seemed to be more. It kind of went off to a different tangent there, where the trial is about America's values versus British values. And that was very weird.
Yep. And interesting that it was directed by Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger. And as I researched, most of their movies were credited that way, which was not done at that time. They were the Lennon and McCartney producers and directors.
Yeah.
Is that Pressburger wrote more, Powell directed more. You know, they had their specialties, but they shared equal credit. Now that leads us to 1960 and Peeping Tom.
The title is off-putting.
It is for me.
Yeah, you know, it's not a film you go, oh, well, let's go see Peeping Tom.
Yeah.
I mean,
if this movie was called Compulsion or
The Voyeur,
The Voyeur,
yeah,
which I actually think was the French title. I think I saw in one of the clips of that.
That makes sense. Then
Peeping Tom has a connotation
creepy.
And yes, indeed, this character is creepy.
And no offense to any Peeping Toms out there. I don't want to. We don't want to offend everybody.
We'll take views from it.
Yeah, we will. People. But no, and it's a dark film, and I think the reason, because we mentioned Psycho came out
about 2 months later.
Psycho is one of those jump out of your seat scary films,
right?
Whereas Peeping Tom is a creepy psychological
thriller.
Thriller, I guess, but that's not quite a thriller, because there's really not too many thrills in there. Because
I think it's an odd thrill, because the odd thrill is you're kind of going, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Because you're just thinking, I'm seeing a movie called Peeping Tom. Starts off with him with his camera on the street.
Prostitute, yeah.
Confronts a prostitute. Yeah.
He's such a creepy guy. It's a creepy film.
Yeah. And the one little thing, because there's so many things that are unexplained until they're explained. And in that first prostitute that's killed, you see a flicker of light over her face.
Yes, like a flashlight.
Yeah, you see there's something there, but you don't know why or what it is.
You don't know what that is.
And so as the movie progresses, it's ultimately explained why you're seeing that reflection. You also find out he was tortured by his father. His father, when you see the films of him as a young boy, his father was a researcher of human behavior.
Yeah, and fear.
I had a bad dream. What was the light in your eye?
The dad's like shocking him and scaring him and shooting him
to the point where the kid's
that
in tears.
And it's the same thing he's doing as an adult.
But he's also a voyeur. When he sees couples kissing, and he likes to look at them, and he likes to watch. And another element that made this kind of creepy was Michael Powell played his father in the and his son played the little boy in the home movies that they did.
Can't you guess?
If you're going to get the Criterion Collection of Peeping Tom, it has a terrific documentary.
Excellent.
Called British Psycho, and it tells you those tidbits. There's a moment in Peeping Tom where one of the models is topless. It's a very quick scene, but it cuts to this.
Oh, one of the models.
One of the models is topless, and that, as we're told in this documentary, is the first nudity in British film. And we should also note one of the women in the movie was the actress from the Red Shoes. She was the ballerina from the Red Shoes that Michael Powell directed. She is the stunt actress in this film.
I was wondering about that. I thought, well, the guy plays a cameraman or a focus puller on a movie set, and the woman is killed on a movie set.
Yeah.
After everybody's gone, she's killed. Well, it's kind of stupid on the guy's part, wouldn't it? Yeah, obviously they're going to. All the detectives are going to go.
People
let's they do interview everybody, but even so, there's only a few people. I mean, there had to be one of them, right?
Yeah. Now, in the documentary, the writer of the screenplay, Leo Marks. What a fascinating story.
I thought that he was a code breaker in World War II. And I thought one of the interesting things he said was, the most difficult code to break is a woman. Brilliant man.
The documentary goes into him, how, the characters in the movie are some of the women code breaker, the women he worked with while he was a code breaker.
400 women. He worked with 400 women, no men.
Yeah.
And they were all code breakers, and he worked with them, and he praised them to the hilt. I was not familiar with the actor, nor I don't know what he's done since.
I looked him up on his IMDb, and he was in Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse in the 60s.
Another comedy thriller.
Rob, I'll let you
Rob. Another farcical.
But mostly German-titled films that Carl did.
Well, he was well cast because he's a handsome man, but yet he's just got this element of creepiness about him.
But I thought, as an actor, well, he did a pretty good job of.
I was thinking
of
very well.
Like John Voight would have pulled this off, this type of role.
Yeah.
That would have been an interesting part.
There's an interesting part when he talks to the psychologist about the voyeurism.
What causes people to be peeping Toms?
Scoptophilia, that would interest him. Most fertile mind.
Scoptophilia,
the morbid urge to gaze.
But two films, two ends of the spectrum as far as film goes. Kind of a classic Hollywood film.
Yeah, only 14, 15 years apart.
Yeah.
But he had a lot in between that was very successful too.
He absolutely did.
Some box office successes, some not.
Yeah.
But always as a filmmaker, highly regarded by other filmmakers.
Fortunately,
regarded.
Rediscovered by Scorsese and Coppola and those people in the
Spielberg,
80s, where they talk about these movies were really chopped up because they were chopped up and sold to television, and so there weren't full versions of the original versions of the films available until the 80s. And
when that film came back out, I saw it in a theater. I read about it in a paper. It had these deep, sort of rich colors about it that was very interesting.
Like a Charles Shaw wine.
Yes.
Well,
I was thinking exactly, actually. Yeah.
And I think on this episode of Brit Flix, we give Michael Powell.
Oh, he's a brilliant filmmaker, no question about it.
Definitely.
It's just a shame that it had to end the way for him.
So, two chucks up. Michael, bless you,
Mickey,
wherever you are.
Good luck. Best of luck to you.
We'll see you next time on Brit Flix.
That's a deal. Okay. Good crystal.
99-cent store.